Don't anyone fool you. You are saving for your retirement, even if you're not contributing to an IRA or 401k, a TSP, or anything like that. You are saving for your retirement, and you're saving a significant amount of money as well. All right? So we hear all these things. People aren't saving enough. People aren't saving enough. Yeah, they are. If they're working, they are saving for their retirement. Let's stop this idea that we're not saving enough. That doesn't mean we can't save more, but let's go to reality. The reality is, and I don't have my thing here, but if you look at your your pay stub, you're going to see something called FICA. 6.2% of that is from your contributions to Social Security, OASDI, Old Age Survivor Disability Insurance, OASDI. 2 point something, 25, I think. 2.25% is for your HI, that's your Medicare, your hospital insurance, all right? So 6.2% is going to FICA, is going to OASDI, which is your Social Security retirement benefit, or if you get disabled, your disability benefit, or your survivor benefit if you're married. All right, now on top of that, your employer is contributing 6.2% as well. All right, so for simplicity, I don't have my pen here, but if you had $100,000, we know for a fact $12,000, or my calculator, what did I do with it? $12,000, about, what was that, 12,500 roughly, will be going into your retirement account, i.e. Social Security. We know that for a fact. If you make $100,000, 6.2 is going from you, 6.2 is going from them, $12,400 is going to your retirement account. That's without you saving a penny. So the question I want to answer here today, I thought it'd be fun. What if we took that money that we would have made and instead invested it in various ways? And it'll be interesting to see. And we use a couple things here, and I think you'll find this pretty interesting. So 4 S's: subscribe, share, say your comments down below, and then smash. All right. So I'm using the average. This is AIME. You know what it is? Average Index Monthly Earnings. All right. And I think this is from the HRS study, the Health and Retirement Study from 2016. Now this is the average, AME from 2016, the average. Now, I usually like to use a median. I'm just going from the study here. The median and the average for Social Security, average index monthly earnings are actually a little bit, is fine to use the averages. Because the reason I don't like averages, generally speaking, is because a bunch of outliers or a couple outliers could skew it higher. I mean, you got Jeff Bezos in there. He could really skew the average significantly to make it not even worth the paper is written on. But because there's a cap on the Social Security benefit, you can use an average index monthly earnings because the cap is, let's say, 135,000 this year. So Jeff Bezos is only paying 6.2% on his first 135,000 bucks. So I think the average for AIME numbers are correct. And frankly, I'm not even sure if this is the average of the median anyway, but it is. I'm looking at, I have my thing over here, my chart, and I'll show this to you here as well. But it is in 2016. All right. So the average man, his AIME is 55,000, or I shouldn't say AIME, his average wages are 55,468. I'm sorry, his average Social Security earnings, excuse me. So the average Social Security earnings for a man in 2016 was 55,458. So that'd be his total amount he's paid taxes on for the Social Security system. The woman's 26,896. So that makes sense. So basically, the average man pays taxes on $55,458. The average woman pays Social Security taxes on $26,896. All right, so we go down here, and we're going to divide that by 12 because that will be our average index monthly earnings, which is this right here, and that's again what Social Security is derived on. So the average man's AIME is 4,622. The average woman's is 2,241. Again, 2016 numbers. We know the first 926 is 90% of that is what we get. So on both sides, a woman gets 833 on the first 926. A man gets 833 on his first 926. But after that, the man has a lot more in the second bend point. So the next bend point, which is times 0.32, he's going to get $1,183, where she's going to get $421 because she has less. So essentially what we have here is we got the woman has $1,241. Let me pause this. I got to get my calculator. All right, so for a woman, she gets her Social Security benefit at full retirement age is $1,254, and her average index monthly earnings is $2,241. So let's take a look. $1,254 divided by $2,241. her replacement rate is 55 point, we're going to say 56%. All right. So basically 56% she gets for every, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Blink, we get out of that. There we go, 56%. All right, so her replacement rate is 56% because she has a AIME of 2241, of which she gets 1254 for a Social Security benefit. That means Social Security is giving her 56 cents for every dollar she made that was taxable to Social Security. Now, a man, he's got 2016 as his PIA, and his AIME is 4622. His replacement rate is only 43%. And that's the progressive nature of how Social Security works. Now, let's go into this. So basically what's happening here is at full retirement age, we'll just say 67, they would both, if they're husband and wife, and they would married, they would make $39,243 of annual income in Social Security. Does that make sense? Which is a total 47% replacement rate. So if between Josh and Charlotte, if this was us, the average American couple, we're going to make $39,000 in Social Security benefits when we hit 67 years old, which means we are going to replace 47% of our total income, which is not too shabby. Now, if we wait until we're 70, we're going to make $48,000 of Social Security, almost $49,000 of Social Security benefits, which replace 59% of our income, which is actually quite good. All right? With me so far. But let's just say we didn't pay into Social Security. All right? We didn't pay into Social Security. So instead, we used the 12% that we were paying into Social Security, the 6% we got additional from the government, from our employer, because remember, 6.2% is going into your employer account. From your employer, 6.2% is going from you. So instead, I'm saying we took 12% a year and we're investing that as opposed to having it in Social Security. Does that make sense? The 6% from the employer, 6% that you were putting into your FICA taxes. All right, so both of us were putting 12% a year. All right, now that means we're putting in $9,882 a year into our retirement accounts. Again, this is without Social Security. If we got 7% a year on that money for 35 years, all right, we'd have $1.37 million in there. With me so far? So if we invested $9,882, which is 12% of our total gross income, and we got 7% a year, we'd have $1.3 million in that account by the time we retired. If we were to take 5% a year off this guy, we would get $68,000 a year in income right out of the gate. Now, I do subject it for taxes. I'm using an effective 11% tax rate here, which is, Social Security won't be taxed. This will be taxed. So the difference is, with an 11% effective tax rate, we would make $5,000 a month if we were to invest our own money as opposed to Social Security. With that 12%, the employer contributions and our contributions. Hope you're following me there. So that's $5,000 a month after taxes. With Social Security, because it's not taxed, it's only really say $40,000. So that's what, 25, roughly a little bit less than $2,250 a month. So essentially, we're almost getting not quite half, but we're getting about $20,000 divided by $40,000. Yeah, we're getting basically half, more than half of our benefit than we would have got from Social Security. All right, but it doesn't stop there, my friends. We're not out of the loop yet. What if we only got 4% a year? Oops. Let's go here. So what if we only got 4% a year? Well, here we're only going to get $728,000 of total income. So we put $9,882 in the account every single year. We only got $728,000. This is for 35 years, by the way. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, because the Social Security is 35 years of is what your indexed earnings is based on your top 35. So if you're wondering where the number came from, it's for 35 years. Does that make sense? So we're basically comparing apples to apples. 35 years of my company put in 6.2, myself putting 6.2 on top, and comparing against 35 years of me putting the whole 12% in for 35 years, which is what Social Security pays, your top 35 years of earnings. So in this case, and then we're adding my wife and myself in terms of the overall household that we have. If we only got 4% a year, though, we only have $728,000. 5% of 728 is 36,000. Effective tax rate of 11%, which means we only have 32,000. So in that case, Social Security is paying us 22% more than if we would have invested in ourselves after taxes. With me so far? All right, now, what happens if we got 10%? Well, if we got 10%, we got $2.68 million, which I'm using a higher tax rate, this time of 13%, because some of that money will be in the 22% tax bracket. And I'm saying we would have netted $116,000 if we would have got 10% a year each and every year from for the last 35 years. So you can see, basically, if you get less than 5%, Social Security is a better bang for your buck. If you get more than 5%, private investing would have been better for your buck, for sure. That's all there is to it. But then I said, let's go one step further. What if we were to do, now again, if you look at 7 years old, I didn't run the numbers for 7%, but if you look at 7 years old, we're getting 48,000. And essentially, again, 4% won't do the job, 10% still, 6% will too. So at the end of the day, if you can get 5% or more, you'd want to invest your money as opposed to Social Security historically from the last 35 years. So then I said, what if I used the Vanguard Wellesley Income Fund, VWINX? I did it every single year from 1983 to 2000. Man, this is really hard to do. Oops, hold on a second. My Chromebook goes that way. The Mac goes that way. I got to get used to it. So I do it every single year from 1983 to 2018. That's 35 years of earnings record that I have. And I'm adding, in this case, 9,882, which is the exact amount that we did up here. All right. 9,882, which is 6% for me, 6% from employer. But instead of going to Social Security, I'm going to the Vanguard Wellesley Income Fund, which is what, 35% stocks, 65% bonds. All right, so let's keep doing this now. So you can see a pretty good start. You know, we got 9,000, roughly 10,000 here going in, plus the interest rate that we got in the first year, 1.18%. The next year we had the 9,882 going in, plus the interest rate we had for this year, which is 16%, plus the value that we had from the last year. We're just adding these up and adding it based on our rate of return. The facts we're adding to it, we're getting a rate of return, and that's what's going to happen, if that makes sense. So you can see we got a couple years. We're down, was that 2% in 1987? We're down 4% in 1990. We were down 4.5% in 1994. It coincides with the interest rates going up. Interesting, huh? 1999, we're down 4.5%. And then we got pretty good returns, 16%, 7%, 4.5%. I mean, this is, you can see this. We're down 10% in 2008. So even with adding $9,882 in 1998, I keep doing that. Oops, where were we? 2008, excuse me. We still dropped in value by almost $100,000 bucks. All right, so what happens at the end of 2018, because we ended up down for the year, negative 2.7%, we have I gotta get used to this. Sorry, guys. Appreciate you hanging in there. We had 2.16 million, which is a 9.09% rate of return. So if we would have gone into Vanguard Wellesley Fund in 1983 as opposed to Social Security, we would have 2.16 million in there. All right, now what does that do from a perspective of how much cash we could have got out? Well, we would have got $93,000 a year net of taxation, again at an effective tax rate. So if we would have invested in Wellesley instead of Social Security, we would be basically twice as wealthy from an income perspective than Social Security, and that's even after taxes. So I can hear you right now. Oh, this just shows you the pittance of Social Security. No, it does not. It does not. In fact, what happens is, here I did a sequence of return risk where I just changed the numbers over. I said, what if we, so in this case, I said, okay, we have 2.16 million in Wellesley Fund at the beginning of our retirement. All right, so we're basically, all we're doing is we're taking these returns here and we're swapping them. We're just changing them. So we're going to start in 2018, 2017, so we're reversing them because the beginning of 1983, 1982 and going to 1999 was the biggest bull market in the history of the man. So that's it's kind of misleading. So I said, what if we went into retirement with a not, I mean, it's still a pretty good market, don't get me wrong, from 2018 down, but it wasn't nearly as good as it was in 1982. So what if I said we retired in 2018 and start pulling money off there? So now I'm pulling 5% a year, all right? And you can see I'm pulling 5% a year off. We're losing some money because we're pulling the 5% a year off, and the markets went down. Pulling 5% a year off, but in this case, the markets went up, and you can see what happens. Watch this. By the end of 2000, we had 2.97 million. Actually, let's go to the end of 2001 because it doesn't matter. At the end of 2000, we had 2.97 million. So we were able to take, on average, looks like roughly 120, 130,000 a year on average, and we still had over almost a million more after the end of 2001. 2000, excuse me. So those 18 years of some of the most trying times, we still did just fine, without question. And in fact, even if you factor in, we'll start in 2009. We started with 2007 million. It fell to 2.3, came back up, and then we're still at, basically we only made $200,000 over that decade, the lost decade from 2009 to 2000, but we still took the equivalent of 125,000 a year off for those 10 years. So we were able to take 1.2 million out, and we increased our portfolio by $200,000 or so. That's not too shabby, man. But watch this, and this is going to shock you. With this one, so here we're down to 2 point after 1999. Oh, I'm not sorry. Let's keep going down. Watch this. Now it starts getting big time. As you can see, we have $8.798 million at the end of 1983 because the bear market is long behind us. Only the bulls from the Reagan/Clinton era from 1983 till 1999. So we are making bank. So here in the 1983, when we hit our death, we made $390,000 of income with $8.8 million in our portfolio. Not too shabby. So I can easily hear the naysayers of Social Security saying that just shows you that you should invest in Social Security. My friends, the days of these kind of numbers are gone, and they just are, because remember, the yields on bonds in 1983, 10-year Treasury is paying more than a 30-year Treasury, but 30-year Treasury is paying 15.25. You're not getting 30-year Treasuries at 15.25 now. You're getting them at 3, even a little bit less than 3 on any given day. So those days of Wellington or Wellesley showing this kind of juice are just gone. You're not getting the same kind of returns as bonds, which goes back to my initial thought process. If Vanguard and all the other prognosticators are right that we're going to get, they're saying about 5% real returns in stocks, maybe 1% real returns in bonds, and you have a portfolio that's 65% in stocks, so 0.65 times, 0.01, and 0.35 times 0.05. We're going to get, bear with me just a second, there's a method to my madness here, 0.65 times 0.01 and 0.35 times 0.05. Oops. So 1.75 plus 6.5, 0.65. All right, so 1.7 plus 0.65. We're going to get 2.35% a year going forward. And how we get that is we take a Wellesley fund has 65% in bonds. Our bonds, if the real returns are right, their expectations about 1%. I'd even say that might be on the high end, but let's just say that's net of inflation, 1%, and that's and then stocks are the real returns are 5%. Again, that's net of inflation. And you take 65%, you times that by 0.01, you're going to get 0.65. You take 35% and times that by 0.05, you're going to get 1.75. You add those two together, and your total return net of inflation is 2.35. Social Security is 4%. We already established that Social Security, anything less than 5, Social Security is the way to go, without question. So while Social Security was not the way to go in the past, going forward it certainly is. We got a lot of work ahead of us, and yet we are saving our money. We're saving 12.4% a year without risk other than the federal government. with cost of living adjustments, without a bear market like we saw in 2008. So the whole point about this, give yourself a break, man. Don't sit there and say, I got to save more, I got to save more. I mean, yes, if you can do, by not having leased cars, not having borrowing for cars, not taking huge mortgages because you've been stuck. Look, I've been there, man. For only 14 cents more per thousand, you could get this. And, you know, all those 14 cents times a million add up. Give yourself a break, though. So you are saving for retirement via Social Security. Social Security is the biggest source of income for the vast majority of Americans. The vast majority of Americans vote. They're not going to allow Social Security to go away. It's not going to happen. So just hang in there, man. Relax a little bit. Recognize that, yes, Social Security didn't do as well as the markets did from the last 30 years or so. Those first 20 years from 1983 to 1999 were just, they'll never be seen again. They're never going to be seen because bonds and stocks did incredibly well. Those days are gone, never to come back. So recognize Social Security for what it is. It is a wonderful savings mechanism. You are doing it if you have a pay stub, and continue to do it. All right, don't forget, subscribe. I'd love to hear your comments down below, and we'll see you next time. Thanks now.